Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it or not, we only have 3 weeks remaining in this fantasy regular season. So I thought I would make a little video about the 3 weeks to come, and then the ultimate race for the Dungy in the playoffs, and the Sacco bracket. So we'll talk about that, maybe some predictions at the end on the fly, I'm not sure yet. But first, let's talk about my team, the Nightman Cometh. And yeah, it's been an interesting year for the team that began with an 0-5 start in the league, with two of the toughest losses in fantasy history. Definitely two of the toughest losses in fantasy history. Started with against Josh. I think it was Drew Brees scored like 40 points, miraculous comeback to get me back on Monday night. Then I tied Josh, and then Brees finished with like 9 rushing yards. So yeah, I couldn't get that extra point. We finished tied, and he had the longer field goal, so he got the win fair and square. But then the next week, I'm going up against Patty's Egg, and it comes down to Monday night again, just for it to appear that I get the win when Kyle Rudolph gets me the 1 point I need, or he gets me 1 more point than I need. I'm up by 1, just for CBS, in an unprecedented turn of events, to give Isaiah Crowell 10 rush yards overnight. Yeah, I didn't know they were playing games at like 2 a.m. anymore, but apparently Isaiah Crowell ran for 1 more point than they accounted for on Sunday, just for me to get the loss for the second week in a row by 1 point. So, yeah, I was 0-5. I was the joke of the league, I'll admit that. I'll admit that I was looking at relegation, looking at the Sacco championship, but then rattled off 3 straight wins to get right back in it at 3-5. Lost 1, but now I've won 1 back again to be at 4-6 and tied with most of you other pieces of shit. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the standings right now. As I said, most people are 4-6, and no one is worse than 4-6, which is absolutely incredible. Dan mentioned that last week. It doesn't make any sense that no one's even 3-7 or worse, but that's the way it's going. And as of right now, Bob is the only team who is 3 games back in his division. So even he could still tie. Well, he probably couldn't because both of the leaders are 7-3, but everyone still has a shot at the division, and more importantly, everyone can still make the playoffs. Everyone still has the chance to finish with a winning record, which is absolutely incredible with 3 weeks to go. So, let's take a look at the standings, starting with the other division that I reside in. We got Josh with a 2-game lead over everyone. He's at 6-4. Everyone else is at 4-6, and that's looking good for him with only 3 games left. He would have to go 0-3 in the last 3 games, and then whoever goes 3-0, someone would have to go 3-0 to take the division over him. And then we've got in the Delco division, Brendan got a big win over Bless this week. Fuck you, Bless, and fuck Isaiah Crowell. Big win to get to 7-3, where he is tied with Carter for the division lead. And it can be important who wins that division, because the winner of that division will probably get a bye into the semifinals in the playoffs. So that's big, and their matchup against each other will be huge. Carter's a name who, a team who's usually around at the top, but Brendan was in the Sacco championship, or he was in the Sacco playoffs last year, so was Josh. Those guys are at the top of the division, that's good to see. Jude is 5-5. He's at 500, and he's currently in a playoff spot, so that's not expected, and put a pretty good season together. Credit that to Ezekiel Elliott, probably. And then Bob is down at 4-6. Then lastly, in the Penn State division, Bless is at 6-4, leading the division. Nate's only 1 game behind him at 500. And then Scud and Kev are at 4-6. Scud has some work to do to retain his commissioner duties if he's going to hold true to that promise of giving that up if he doesn't make the playoffs, I think it was. So, only 3 weeks left, as I said. Looking forward to the playoffs. Well, let's look at what the race for the Dungy is currently, the live playoff picture through Week 10. Brendan is the number 1 seed, followed by Josh at number 2. So those two would have byes, even though they were both in the Sacco playoffs last year. The matchups right now, if the season ended today, would be Ryan versus Jude at the 3 versus 6, and then Carter versus Nate. And that would be your championship bracket. The Sacco bracket would be, I would face Kev, who I just fucked up this week, so I'm fine with that. And then Scud would face Dan. So Dan is right now, Dan, we talked about it last week, Scud did. He's our highest scoring team in the league by a good amount. He is right now on the outside looking in by a whole game. So he can't just, at this point you'd expect the team with the most points to be in the playoffs, but he still has some work to do to get in. He has to win some games at the end of the year. And then Nick and Bob currently have the byes as the bottom 2 teams. So that's what it looks like with 3 weeks left. It surely will not stay that way, especially with how close everyone is. Everyone can still make the playoffs, and everyone can still miss the playoffs. Not even Brendan and Carter have clinched a playoff spot yet, but they can with a win this week. Josh can also clinch with a win this week if... Nope, he couldn't. Never mind. Josh can't clinch this week either. So it's extremely close, super exciting. So I guess with all that being said, I'm going to try to make a prediction at the end here who will be in our championship bracket. I'm not going to try to call who's going to win the whole thing yet with 3 weeks left, but quickly, let's see who I think will make the playoffs. Let's start with who I think will win each division. I'll start with my division and just say that it's going to be hard for anyone to catch Josh with 3 games left, and everyone 2 games back, because he'd have to lose out probably. And I think he has a good team, and that's not expected. But with that being said, we still play again, and Josh, I'll be coming for you hard. Don't expect an easy win. And then let's look at the Delco division. Have to choose between Brendan and Carter, assuming Jude doesn't make a miraculous push for the division title. And I'll go with Carter, both because I think his team's a little stronger and he's got that championship experience. But Brendan can definitely make a good run in the playoffs, as I expect him to get a wild card spot. And then the last division, Bless and Nate are the real 2 who have a good shot at it. Nate would have to beat Bless in these final 3 games. I think both Bless's team's a little stronger. I think Nate's team's pretty average, even though he's in good position right now. So I'll give Bless that division as well. So then I have to pick 3 wild cards. If I'm going just based off the next best 3 teams that I think, I would put Brendan in there, because he also has the record where it'd be hard for him to miss the playoffs. And then I think the next 2 teams are me and Bullet. But the problem is, with how close everything is, Bullet and I can't both win the rest of our games, so one of us will have to be 6-7, which probably won't make the playoffs. The playoffs will probably come down to who can finish with a winning record at 7-6. So I have to pick either one of me or Bullet, because it doesn't look like both of us can make it. And I probably have to go with Bullet, considering when I was 0-5, I was already making trades for next year. Thanks, Bullet, first off. I already have Bullet's first round pick next year because gave him Mark Ingram. Hope he's paying off for him. And then who else? Kev, I have your 3rd round pick for giving you Emmanuel Sanders and getting Jarvis Landry as well in return. So even with those trades being made, I'm still in position to make a push. But I think Bullet will probably get that wild card spot over me this year. But again, watch out for next year, as I've already got 2 first round and 2 third round picks. Talk about rebuilding. Then did I give all my wild card? Okay. And then lastly, I'll probably give Nate the last wild card spot as well, because he should be able to finish at 7-6. So like I said, it'll come down to who finishes 7-6. Everyone has a shot at it. It's going to be very, very exciting these last 3 weeks. It's those division matchups. It's those new rivalries that are starting this year as we've created these new divisions. And it should be fun as we go to the end. And I think that just about does it for this video. So, like I said, that's it. And fuck all of you.